There was once a land where the summers were long and dry. The earth would crack beneath the sun, splitting open like tired skin. The fields that once shimmered green with life turned into pale patches of dust. Rivers shrank into thin streams, their beds littered with smooth stones exposed to the scorching light. The air itself seemed heavy, as though every breath carried with it the weight of thirst. Farmers would rise each morning with weary hope, looking at the sky for signs of clouds, but most days the heavens stretched endlessly blue and unbroken. Their oxen pulled plows across dry soil, raising clouds of dust instead of laying fertile furrows. Mothers carried jars to fetch water from distant wells, their backs bent and their faces lined with worry. Children, who should have laughed and run through grassy fields, played instead in dusty roads. Their feet stirred up little storms of dirt. Even the trees stood still, their branches sagging, their leaves curling, sighing as though longing for relief. And so the people often spoke of storms. Around evening fires, in the hushed tones of prayer, and in the quiet spaces between heartbeats, they longed for the great rains. They dreamed of the thunder rolling across the land like drums of heaven, of lightning splitting the sky with fire, of torrents of water pouring down. They imagined floods of abundance washing away the dust, drenching the fields, and bringing sudden relief. But while the people prayed for storms, something gentler came instead. It did not announce itself with thunder. No lightning ripped the heavens, no rushing wind swept the land. It came softly, almost timidly, like a whisper. The first drops fell so light they seemed almost uncertain of their welcome. They touched the soil without spectacle, soaking silently into the thirsty ground. At first, few even noticed. A farmer, wiping sweat from his brow, looked up and frowned. "This will never be enough," he muttered. Children paused in their games, holding out their hands to catch the faint drops, puzzled by their weakness. The elders shook their heads. "A drizzle," they said. "What good is a drizzle when the land cries out for a storm?" Yet the gentle rain was patient. It had not come to overwhelm. It had come to restore. Hour by hour, day by day, it continued to fall. The drops did not roar. They persisted. Slowly, the soil began to soften. The cracks in the earth filled and closed, little by little. Seeds buried deep, long forgotten, stirred awake. Roots, once dry and brittle, began to drink. Tiny shoots pushed their way upward, fragile yet determined. Grass, faint at first, spread like a quiet song across the fields. Flowers, shy and uncertain, opened their petals toward the muted light. Streams, once lifeless, began to murmur again. The trickling of water wound through stones, not from floods or sudden storms, but from the patient, steady offering of countless small drops. And little by little, the land was renewed. The people were astonished. They had prayed for storms, yet it was not the storm that brought new life. It was the gentle rain. They realized in that quiet revelation that strength does not always declare itself with thunder. Sometimes it arrives in silence. Healing is not always sudden, but gradual, drop by drop, moment by moment, until one day you wake to find life blooming again. Among the villagers was a woman who understood this better than most. She had carried grief for many years, a sorrow so deep it had become part of her bones. Her husband had passed away one winter, leaving her to raise their child alone. Then, not long after, her child too was taken by illness. She continued to live, but each day felt like carrying a weight no one could see. People greeted her kindly, but her smile never reached her eyes. She, too, prayed for a storm, something sudden, something powerful, something to wash away her pain. But the storm never came. Instead, healing arrived like the gentle rain. A neighbor stopped by with a bowl of soup. A child ran past her window and waved. One evening, as she sat alone, a song drifted across the village square, its melody soft and soothing. Each small act seemed insignificant by itself, like a drop to light to matter. But day by day, little by little, her heart began to soften. There were nights she still wept, but when she wiped her tears, she found herself remembering the kindnesses. A smile, a prayer, a quiet moment under the stars. and drop by drop, her soul once cracked and barren became a garden again. She planted flowers outside her home. She opened her door to travelers who needed rest. She laughed once more, a sound the village had not heard in years. The gentle rain touched not only the soil, but the hearts of those who noticed. It taught them that greatness is not always in power, but in persistence. That transformation does not always arrive with spectacle, but with steady faithfulness. That the world is not always changed by storms, but often by the quiet gifts of patience, kindness, and grace. Dear listener, perhaps you too are waiting for a storm. Perhaps you are hoping for a sudden miracle, a dramatic shift that sweeps away your struggles in one grand moment. But maybe, just maybe, your healing is already here. In the gentle rain of unnoticed blessings, in the kindness of a stranger, in the steady rhythm of time that slowly softens pain, in the quiet mercies that fall into your life each day. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing in that land. The sky is soft and gray, the air cool and tender. The first drops touch your skin, cool and light, carrying with them the promise of renewal. You hear the patter on the leaves, the quiet tapping on the earth, the steady rhythm of grace falling from the heavens. You breathe deeply, and the scent of life returning fills your chest. Let the rain remind you, even the smallest drops can quench great thirst. Even the quietest moments can carry the greatest power. Even the slowest healing can lead to the deepest peace. The gentle rain teaches us patience. It teaches us gratitude. It teaches us that true change is not always born in storms, but in the faithfulness of steady gifts. It whispers that what we overlook, the small mercies, the unseen kindnesses, are often the very things that restore us. So tonight, as you prepare to rest, let this story be your comfort. Do not despise the small drops in your life. Do not dismiss the moments that feel too quiet to matter. For it is often the gentle rain, not the storm, that brings the deepest healing, the quietest peace, and the most lasting growth. And when you wake tomorrow, look for the gentle rain. It may not roar, it may not dazzle, but it will be therein the kindness you receive, in the hope that stirs quietly in your heart, in the soft strength that grows when you least expect it. For life, like the land, is not always transformed in thunder. Sometimes it is healed in silence,